The snow fell heavy that Christmas Eve in 1952, blanketing the small Montana town in white silence. Inside the community hall, the annual charity auction buzzed with warmth and laughter. Tables overflowed with decorated baskets, each prepared by local women to raise funds for the new schoolhouse. Martha Henderson sat alone in the corner, her weathered hands folded in her lap, watching the festivities with a quiet sadness that seemed to dim the lamplight around her. She had spent 3 days preparing her basket. Every penny she could spare had gone into it. There was her homemade apple butter, the recipe passed down from her grandmother. She had knitted a wool scarf in deep forest green, though her arthritic fingers made each stitch an act of determination. A small carved wooden angel, the last piece her husband Thomas had made before the accident at the mill took him 6 months ago, sat nestled in tissue paper. Martha knew she had nothing compared to the other baskets, those overflowing with store-bought luxuries and fancy preserves, but she had poured her heart into every item. The auctioneer, red-faced and jolly, worked his way through the baskets one by one. The mayor's wife's basket went for $35. The school teacher's fetched $40. Laughter and friendly competition filled the air as neighbors outbid each other, the room alive with the spirit of giving. Martha watched, her chest tightening with each successful sale, knowing her turn approached like an unwanted visitor. When her basket finally came up, the room fell into an uncomfortable hush. The auctioneer cleared his throat, his usual enthusiasm faltering. "Well now, we have here a lovely basket from Mrs. Martha Henderson," he announced, his voice losing its carnival ring. "Who'll start the bidding at $5? Silence, the kind that screams louder than words. Martha felt every eye in the room either avoiding her gaze or settling on her with pity. She had known this might happen. Since Thomas died, the town treated her like a ghost, a reminder of tragedy they would rather forget. Her poverty made them uncomfortable. Her grief was too raw, too real for a festive occasion. "Come now, folks," the auctioneer tried again, desperation creeping into his voice. $5 for a good cause? Still nothing. Martha felt her face burning. She wanted to sink through the floor, to disappear into the winter night outside. She stood to leave, unable to bear the humiliation any longer. That's when the door crashed open. A gust of Arctic wind swept through the hall, and with it came a figure that made several people gasp. Standing in the doorway was Jacob Reeves, the mountain man who lived in a cabin 15 miles outside town. He was massive, with a wild beard crusted with ice and shoulders that seemed to fill the entire frame. He wore animal skins and carried the sharp smell of pine and wood smoke. Children whispered about him. Adults called him strange, dangerous even. He came to town perhaps 3 times a year for supplies, speaking to no one, taking what he needed and vanishing back into the wilderness. Jacob's eyes, surprisingly gentle in his rugged face, scanned the room until they found Martha. He stomped forward, his boots leaving puddles of melted snow, and those gathered parted before him like the Red Sea. When he reached the auctioneer's table, he pulled out a worn leather pouch and counted out $5 silver, placing them deliberately on the wood. "I'll take that basket," he said, his voice rough from disuse but carrying an unexpected kindness. The auctioneer, too shocked to speak, simply nodded and handed it over. Jacob turned to Martha, and for a moment their eyes met. In his gaze she saw no pity, no charity, only recognition. The recognition of one lonely soul seeing another. He walked to where she stood frozen and gently placed the basket in her hands. "This belongs to you, ma'am," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "Your husband, Thomas, he helped me once. 5 years back I got caught in a blizzard, stumbled half frozen to the mill. Thomas took me in, gave me food, blankets, asked nothing in return. Told me kindness has a way of circling back. I never forgot that." Martha's eyes filled with tears. She had never known about this, never knew that Thomas's goodness had reached even the mysterious hermit of the mountains. "But the money," she whispered. "The school needs it, and they got it," Jacob replied with the faintest smile. "But you need this more." Thomas knew something most folks forget. It ain't about what we give when it's easy. It's about showing up when it costs us something. He tipped his head to her, turned and walked back into the storm, leaving the hall in stunned silence. Martha stood clutching her basket, feeling its weight differently now. It wasn't rejection she held, but connection. a gift given, remembered, and returned. As the auction resumed around her, she understood that kindness never truly dies. It lives on, waiting in unexpected hearts, ready to emerge when needed most. That Christmas Eve, she learned that sometimes our smallest acts of grace become someone else's greatest treasures, returning to us transformed.